I remember me and my friends were on a road trip. I was so goddamn hungry. As soon as we got our food, I bit into that greasy, delicious cheeseburger. In that moment, it tasted like pure heaven. My friend looked over at me and started talking about how I should taste real cheeseburgers over at some gourmet restaurant. You know that feeling when you want to punch someone in the face because they hate when you're enjoying something? Like me enjoying a cheeseburger doesn't mean that I think that this is better than every cheeseburger on planet Earth. I get that same feeling when people try to compare books to movies. How many of y'all would die for honor? How about fighting a 7-foot, 350-pound murderer and rapist? Now, the characters we love in Game of Thrones reflect certain things that we see in ourselves or we wish we saw. But because it's a fantasy show, it's a fantasy world, they take those things and push them to fantastical limits. This is all the more reason why people love Tyrion. He's even old Georgie's favorite character. You see, Tyrion is essentially us. He doesn't have some grand quest in life or some prophecy to fulfill. He's just struggling through life, trying to survive through what people expect him to be, through society's standards. He really just wants to chill. His limitations, which would limit us in this world and even doubly so in this fantasy world where people are doing crazy things, don't stop him. We imagine ourselves coming up with a perfect burn or response 2 days later in the shower, but Tyrion, he actually says it right then and there.
I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish that I had. Watching your vicious bastard die gave me more relief than 1,000 lying whores.
The underdog, but somehow he stays the underdog because this isn't a fairy tale, it's real life. Things aren't all good because he survives or he did one right thing. He's still gonna be judged the exact same way, but something foul has raised its ugly head. You see, the massive popularity of Tyrion in the shows, I think, has affected how he's portrayed as a character in the shows as well. When a show or a movie gets big enough, you have to make everything the cliches so that people understand who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. That's what people think. So Tyrion's flaws in the shows are purely cosmetic. The fact that he's an indulgent dude who has sex and drinks a lot is just something that's important when it's not important. It doesn't affect his decision making. It doesn't affect anything about his life. He's just kind of two different people. Mother Teresa on one end and the crazy cool party dude at the other. Tyrion's character isn't that he's a dwarf who everyone hates just because he's a dwarf and he does crazy sex things. He's a guy who hates himself just as much as everyone else does. Because every ugly or bad thing he does is automatically considered an eventuality. Something that just springs forth from his wretched presence. You ever do something you regret that just doesn't feel right? Imagine that after every time you did something like that, someone came up to you and said, "Of course you did that. You're disgusting."
Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor. It can never be used to hurt you.
When Tyrion does good, people only see how it benefited him. Of course he did that. He's selfish and greedy. When he does bad, well, it was just a matter of time. Everything in his life is a lose-lose situation for what people think about it. But that's what made him so damn good of a character. He's not a tragic hero who, despite being hated in a world who doesn't accept him, does the right thing. He's just a guy who's unfairly judged for his appearance. He's a guy, not a dwarf adjusting to life, a guy adjusting to life. His flaws are actually flaws. In the show, Sansa and Tyrion get married, and when they're supposed to be consummating the marriage, this is what happens.
Stop. Calm.
But your father...
My father wants someone to get fucked. I know where he can start.
In the books, Tyrion just doesn't turn off his sex-crazed and alcohol-fueled side to be a good guy. He actually wants to have sex with Sansa. He doesn't just stop and do the right thing immediately. It's basically the last second he stops himself and decides not to. That's a small example, I know. But there's one fuck-up that the show did that killed the entire character of Tyrion in my eyes. Tyrion killing Tywin. You see, there's a storyline that didn't make it into the books. Years ago when Jaime and Tyrion were younger, they found a young lady being harassed by some dudes while they were traveling on a road. Jaime scared the dudes off and the 13-year-old Tyrion came and grabbed the girl, made sure she was okay, and took her along with them. She was an orphan, and Tyrion and her got closer and closer together, and they ended up falling in love. At the age of 13, Tyrion actually went along and got married to her. She was a commoner. But after his marriage, Tyrion was brought to the stables, and about 100 soldiers were in there along with Tysha. Apparently, Tysha was a prostitute. The entire circumstance was set up to to teach Tyrion a lesson. She never actually loved him. Tywin had all of his 100 men have sex with her and each time drop a silver coin next to her. And after they all finished, he gave his son a gold coin and made him go next. All his life, Tyrion held that in his head. The only girl that he thought actually loved him didn't. She was just a fake. That's a pretty sad story, and if you only watch the show, you're probably thinking, yeah, that happened in the show. But here's where it goes a little bit crazy. There's one part that Tyrion never finds out. That is until Jaime, when he's freeing him, tells him Tysha wasn't a prostitute. It was a plan by Tywin. She actually loved Tyrion. Tywin had his men rape an innocent girl who genuinely loved Tyrion just because she was a commoner. So that's why he kills Tywin. He created this person who Tyrion has become. When Tyrion kills Tywin in the show, it's so out of place. He just doesn't seem like a killer. But in the books, you see that snap. You see someone who's been haunted by something his entire life and just finally snaps. Not because of love, but because of something that's shaped his entire being. Tysha was something that haunted him ever since he was 13. It formed who he was. Now he finds out it was a lie. He finds out that someone did actually love him, but it's bringing him no joy because it's gone. He's become who he was. He has been shaped already by that event. He can't change it. It's so hauntingly close, but so far away at the same time, and it's driving him insane. He can't change it. He has flaws that affect his life. They're not just there to make him seem interesting. The flaws are actual flaws. It's not an interview where you tell someone your biggest flaw is you work too hard. You know what I mean? Alright, whatever, man. I'm done. Feel free to disagree with me and call me a fucking elitist in the comments, but for now, I'm out. Peace.